Yeah, speaking of not really sure what I can make of this, I don't really have a good game grade for SMU after just completely obliterating East Texas A&M. Baylor, on the other hand, lots to take away from the opening loss against Auburn. The game's going to be at SMU. Big sort of statement opportunity for the Mustangs as a college football playoff team from a year ago. Gets their first of 2 shots at a Big 12 team, trying to build up that strength of schedule that could help them if they do find themselves again in an at-large type argument at the end of the year. Baylor has to fix this defense. I know that we don't necessarily look at Kevin Jennings as the running specific quarterback, but man, that boy can still scoot. So, Tom, do you see a path forward for Baylor to be able to shore this thing up, put in the changes that they need to have a better performance?
Yeah, I understand if you're a Baylor fan after what Jackson Arnold did to you last week, why you'd probably be a little bit worried about what Kevin Jennings might do to you with SMU this week. But Baylor was in like an interesting spot in that they kind of had to pick their poison against Auburn because Auburn's got Cam Coleman. They have those receivers. And they really had a choice to make. We could either take away the deep ball and the explosive play in the passing game and force Jackson Arnold to either scramble or, check down, or we could try to stop the run and then maybe get burnt alive, toasted by their receivers. And as far as the answer, Baylor played quarters coverage on 53.6% of its snaps on defense against Auburn, which was the most in the country by far. When they weren't in quarters, they were in cover 2. And that's a lot of zone just to keep the passing game, which also kind of gave Jackson Arnold a lot of running lanes up front. And then he was able to get in the open field and break off plays. I don't think they have to take the same approach against SMU. It's no disrespect to SMU's receivers. They have good ones, but they don't really have Cam Coleman and company. So I would expect you see a more balanced approach from Baylor defensively in this game that allows them to at least slow down the quarterback run game. But that doesn't mean they're going to be effective or it means they're going to succeed because SMU, Kevin Jennings, the Penn State game was horrific. It was awful. It was terrible. It shouldn't skew the entire season that Kevin Jennings had. He's still capable of putting up big games, big numbers, and winning games for SMU. So this is a very interesting matchup to me, and it'll be really interesting to see how the Baylor defense adjusts after last week's game plan.
I think we got a little bit of a shootout on our hands.
I mean, 65.5 certainly suggests that.
Right. But I think this will live up to that. RJ Maryland, I thought it was interesting because I think last year, I'm pretty sure he was listed as a tight end, and now they're just listing him as a wideout. He's a pretty good weapon. He did, he was 3rd on the receiving chart last year. He had 3 catches.
We
had a couple other guys step up. He did go. Is he back? Is he okay?
I was saying he got hurt last year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They finished the season without what I believe to be like one of the best weapons that they had on their roster for week 1.
Right. So he's pretty impressive. And I do think this is one where it'll be, can SMU's defense slow down that passing attack? Because you've always been a big Sawyer Robertson fan, Tom, and I think the whole country got to see what he could do against a pretty good Auburn team. He is more than capable of putting that team on his back. So I'm kind of curious to see what SMU does defensively to slow down that pass game.
I'll also say, this is a huge weekend for the Big 12 in general.
Because week 1 didn't go well.
Season, yeah.
Yeah, because and Big 12 fans were really mad at me for what I wrote on Saturday night, but I said that after the early results of the weekend, they were looking like a 1-bid league because they had been 1-3 in games against Power 4 competition. That moved to 2-3 on Monday night. But the 2 wins so far have been UCLA and North Carolina, 2 teams who look like teams who may not be reaching bowls this year. So to get a win over SMU this weekend would be huge. To get a win over Iowa would be huge. If they could somehow beat Oregon, which, okay, we'll just skip that one. But if Kansas can beat Mizzou, they have a chance to really kind of salvage what was a very slow start, because the only way this conference is going to start getting respect from people in polls and people in the college football playoff selection committee is for them to start winning these games with regularity. And until they do, you're just going to have to deal with the reputation that you have.
We had a question from Brett in the chat.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, all right, now let's go outside the scheme. Forget your quarters coverage. I just want to go narrative here. If Baylor loses and falls to 0-2, is Dave Aranda back on the hot seat?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No,
Yes.
totally,
Like
yeah.
no brainer. Starting the season 0-2, and considering SMU, I think they probably looked down on that program. They were in the playoffs last year. This is a huge, huge game for Dave Aranda.
I would think he'd be on the hot seat with a certain segment of fans, but the fact of the matter is you're 0-2 and that sucks, but you haven't lost a conference game yet. Like
Right.
all of your goals are still on the table.
But if you have made it a statement that I am putting my hands on the defense, the things that made me a head coaching candidate, and the defense, because I'll tell you what, I don't see Baylor losing this game 24-21. Like if Baylor loses this game and they fall to 0-2, it's probably, like you mentioned, Danny, another shootout. That even if Sawyer Robertson has a big game, the sentiment will come back to, well, look what's happened in our first two games with that defense that brings back a ton of experience and production and starts from last season. And in the middle of last season, things were looking dicey before they roll off 6 straight wins to close out the regular season. So vibes were very different because of the way they closed. Another slow start, though, would definitely warm up the seat, I would imagine. It's a very good question, Brett. All right.